I got a younger brother, and you guys are twins, but
It happened on a quiet SmackDown night. No one expected chaos. Jimmy Uso had just picked up a hard-fought win when the lights dimmed. Suddenly, Gunther's theme hit. What followed was carnage. The ring general stormed the ring and unleashed a ruthless, calculated assault. He chopped Jimmy into a corner, delivered a thunderous powerbomb, and then stomped him unconscious. Gunther didn't say a word. He just stood over Jimmy's motionless body and held up the Intercontinental title like a trophy from a hunt. This wasn't about gold. It was about domination. And Jimmy Uso was just the beginning. Bloodline fractured, Solo Sikoa's cold silence. Backstage, Solo Sikoa was seen watching the assault on a monitor. He didn't flinch. No emotion, no words, just a cold stare. The younger brother, once the Bloodline's enforcer, didn't step in, didn't help. Questions began to swirl. Had Solo abandoned his family? Was he in league with Gunther? Or was he simply waiting for the right time to strike? One thing was clear. This wasn't the united bloodline of old. The cracks were visible, and in that silence, Gunther's destruction had already spread deeper than anyone realized. Tribal whispers, Roman Reigns' absence felt stronger than ever. As Jimmy lay in a hospital bed, fans began asking, where was Roman Reigns? The tribal chief's absence had left a vacuum. Without his leadership, the bloodline was vulnerable. Paul Heyman tried to reassure the WWE Universe, saying, the tribal chief is watching, but watching wasn't enough. Jimmy had been broken. Solo was aloof, Jay was off on his own, and now Gunther was capitalizing. Roman's absence wasn't just a void, it was an invitation, and Gunther had RSVP'd with violence. Jacob Fatu emerges from the shadows. Then came the shift. For the first time, the cameras caught him. Jacob Fatu, backstage, fists clenched, eyes full of fire. The Samoan werewolf had arrived in WWE. Not with fireworks, not with a promo, just presence. Word quickly spread. He wasn't here for glory. He was here for blood. Jimmy's blood, Roman's honor, the family's pride, and the man who would answer for all of it, Gunther. The war drums had started. The bloodline wasn't dead. It was summoning its most dangerous warrior. You touched my blood. Now I'm coming for yours. In a chilling backstage segment, Jacob Fatu finally spoke. You touched my cousin, he growled. Now I'm coming for yours. You like to break people, Gunther? I break bones. The message was raw, real, and filled with Samoan fury. There was no theatrics, just the promise of violence. It was a declaration of war, and the WWE Universe felt it in their bones. For the first time in years, someone had stepped up to the ring general, and he didn't look scared. He looked hungry. Gunther responds, I am the final level. The next week on Raw, Gunther appeared with Ludwig Kaiser, calm, confident, cold. I have conquered the bloodline, he said. Roman is gone. Jimmy is broken. Solo is silent. And now they send the Wild One. Gunther smirked. Jacob Fatu, you may be chaos, but I am discipline. I am control. I am the final level. It was a warning cloaked in arrogance. Gunther didn't just dismiss Jacob. He belittled him. But that was a mistake. Because Jacob Fatu wasn't a man to be underestimated. He was a monster who hadn't even been unleashed yet. The Samoan legacy. Why Jacob Fatu is unlike any other. For years, Jacob Fatu carved a path of destruction across the independent scene. A former MLW world champion, his style combined brutality with speed, unpredictability with precision. He wasn't just another Samoan brawler, he was a hybrid beast. Raised in the Anoa'i dynasty, Jacob was a storm waiting to hit WWE. And now he wasn't just stepping in, he was arriving with a purpose. His family had been targeted, his blood had been spilled, and in Samoan culture, family is war. Gunther hadn't just picked a fight, he had awakened the apex predator of the tribe. Paul Heyman caught in the crossfire. Paul Heyman, the longtime advocate of the bloodline, found himself in a delicate position. In a tense interview, he was asked about Jacob Fatu's arrival. Heyman hesitated. Jacob is not like the others, he finally said. He doesn't negotiate. He doesn't strategize. he destroys. The fear in his voice was real. Heyman knew what Jacob could do, but he also understood what Gunther had become. Trapped between his past alliances and the present chaos, Heyman's influence was fading, and the battlefield was becoming too dangerous for even the wise men to control. Imperium targeted Vinci. Sent to the ER, Gunther wasn't the only one in Jacob's sights. On SmackDown, as Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci cut a backstage promo, Jacob Fatu attacked. It wasn't a beatdown, it was an execution. Vinci was slammed into crates, thrown into pipes, and finally powerbombed through a production table. Kaiser fled. Vinci was left unconscious, later diagnosed with spinal trauma. The message was sent. Jacob Fatu wasn't waiting for a match. This was blood for blood. Imperium had drawn first, and now they'd suffer the wrath of the werewolf. Jacob Fatu and Jey Uso reunite. It's still bloodline forever. Jey Uso made a surprise appearance, interrupting a confrontation between Gunther and Jacob. For a moment, the crowd buzzed with uncertainty. Was Jey there to calm things down? But then, Jey stared at Gunther, nodded at Jacob, and super-kicked Ludwig Kaiser in the face. The crowd exploded. "It's still bloodline forever," Jey shouted. The old ties weren't dead. They were just scattered. And now with Jacob Fatu in the fold, the new generation of the bloodline was ready to rise and punish the man who tried to kill their name. Clash confirmed. Gunther versus Jacob Fatu at SummerSlam. WWE made it official. Gunther versus Jacob Fatu at SummerSlam. No title, no rules, just war. The contract signing was short-lived. No chairs, no words. Just an immediate brawl that left the table in splinters and officials scattered across the ring. Gunther had never faced anyone like this. Jacob Fatu didn't respect hierarchy, didn't care about legacies. He was a force of nature. And at SummerSlam, the storm would hit. Hard. The Samoan werewolf's prophecy, "I'm the last thing you'll ever feel." On the final SmackDown before SummerSlam, Jacob Fatu stood in the ring alone. "I ain't here for belts. I'm here for pain," he said. "You messed with my blood. Now I'm going to break your soul." He then stared into the camera and whispered, "I'm the last thing you'll ever feel." The arena went silent. It wasn't hype. It wasn't trash talk. It was a prophecy. Gunther was used to dominance, but for the first time, it felt like he was the one being hunted. SummerSlam awaits, the collision that will shake WWE forever. As the lights dim and the pyro builds, the WWE Universe knows they are about to witness something historic. Gunther, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of the modern era. Jacob Fatu, the untamed beast of the Samoan legacy. This isn't just a match, it's a spiritual collision. Discipline versus chaos. Structure versus fury. The ring general versus the Samoan werewolf. And when the dust settles, one truth will remain. Someone's legacy will end in fire. And someone's legend will just begin.